What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Upshot. It's Ulti-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. It is Thursday, June 5th. I'm Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. As always, Josh, an electric start to the Stanley Cup Finals last night.
Oh, man, was it good? That was so good.
NBA Final starts tonight.
Yep.
We're wrapping it up here in these seasons. I think the Thunder are going to roll. But the Pacers are tough, man. They're tough.
They are
I feel
tough.
like Thunder are like a better version of them.
Yeah. I saw a skit that was like the NBA lamenting, like, how could they let the script fall apart so that they got two small market teams in the finals?
Hey, listen, as a big market fan, I'm all in for the conspiracies. Let's go. Let's put my team in the finals.
Love it.
Script it up, baby. We got a great show for you today. We're going to be joined momentarily by Holyn Handley to talk somewhat about this weekend, but also just about the season that she's having, her incredible ascent from not playing on tour before the year 2021 to being the second highest rated player in the world and knocking on the door of being the player of the year. I think if season ended today, I would vote for Holyn at number one for player of the year.
Tough. That's so tough.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation a little bit, right? Like,
Yeah.
Missy wasn't good enough at the start of the season.
Correct. She has
like,
more work to do to make it up.
The major win is not enough.
Yeah. Kristen hasn't missed second place though.
I hear you.
But she
also
missed
isn't
events.
playing enough of the good tournaments. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough balance. I don't know.
There's a reason we're not voting today.
Right.
We have a lot
well,
of
and here's the
season
thing. I wouldn't be upset. Like if you flip a coin and it's Kristen or Holyn, I don't really care which way it comes up. Right. I don't know if I have an answer for you, but I'm not upset by. I don't think you're wrong for picking Holyn.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got a lot to get to with Holyn. Got a real mind for the sport. So much to discuss. After that, we'll get you ready for the Åland Open. And we got our picks coming up as well. The European tournament scoring is crazy. So you got to make sure that you make strategic picks. And Josh and I differ a lot this week in a key area, and we will get to that. So stay with us. We also have a really good little mailbag question to get to, so we'll grab that as well. Right now, Holyn Handley joins us on the Upshot. We'll be right back. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Well, I told you on Tuesday that the Blackout and Sexton stock Octos are shipping now. By next week, Little Birdie tells me Pound is going to try to have those Aaron Gossage and Turquoise and Navy Octos out the door as well. So now is the time to get your order in. You don't have to order and then wait. Now you can order and get your bag. So go over to pounddiscgolf.com. Check out the brand newly redesigned Octothorpe and Octahall, all new for 2025. It is the flagship disc golf bag and really has no other competitors besides maybe a Rufus like I like to carry. You can check out, they got some new Rufuses dropping soon too. So check it all out, pounddiscgolf.com. Joining us now on the Upshot is Holyn Handley, the 2025 Northwest Disc Golf Championship champion. Holyn, another win here in 2025. Congratulations. And a DGPT Plus at that. You got to be feeling pretty good after however many dollars it was, but $8,500, something like that.
Yeah, feeling really good. I think it was 7,500, but yeah, I mean, that's a nice payday.
So I think I want to start with something because I see this around, and I wonder if you see this like in your mentions on Instagram or anything like that. When you're playing these tournaments at this point, given that you have now gone over the 990 threshold in rating, and the Europeans are not here, you are expected to win. And so when you win, sometimes it feels like people aren't necessarily giving you the full credit for said win. Do you get that sense? And do you care at all about that narrative?
I do a little bit just because, like, this time last year, and I was when Beaver State playing, like, it was such this huge deal because it was the first time breaking through, and now coming back around and it's number 6. And then, yeah, I'm the highest rated player there. It is a little bit, it's not the story so much. Like, a lot of times someone popping up into the top 10, like Taylor Chosick popping up into the top 10, gets a lot of attention, which it should, because that's a great finish for her. But like, I'm a little lower down on the tiered list for interesting stories for the week. Frankly, I'm cool with that because that's a sign that me winning has gotten like boring. It's happening so much, and I'm totally fine with that. I hope I win so much that people just get absolutely sick of it.
A nice problem to have. That's for sure. Like you mentioned, you won Beaver State playing last year. You win the Northwest Disc Golf Championship this year that includes Milo. I'm curious of the two courses, especially as someone who is relatively newer to the sport, so you don't have the history of playing on Milo for the past 10 years. Which of the two courses do you prefer?
I've had people asking me this all week, and I've like refused to answer it. I honestly think the courses are both so great. I love Milo. Milo might edge it out just because of last year and the history I have there on that course now. But Glendoveer I think might be the best golf property we play on. And like both of them just check so many boxes. It's like it's almost impossible to pick one.
Let me pivot then and ask a different question. These two courses together, where does this tournament rank in terms of quality of like the courses, and we can even say quality of the event for events on tour?
I would say it's pretty high up there. I think like the two courses aren't very close together. So in terms of, some logistics and convenience of getting to them, that's not the best. The drive there could be it's on some very narrow, windy roads. So depending on the time of day that, I'm trying to get to and from practice, I can get caught in a lot of traffic. But in terms of like the venue quality, like I got the Milo early, and I mean, it had been mowed and like looking pristine even before all the course assets were up. So I could tell like the local organizers had done a ton of work to get the course ready. Same over at Glendoveer, like everything looked pristine. When the course assets were put up, they were all like perfectly done. Design wise, I think, we could probably pick apart some holes and make some improvements, but I generally think the holes are very challenging, but very fair. So it's scoreable, but there's still scoring separation. There's not really any major tweener holes where, the field's everyone's just kind of laying up and playing for an easy par. So in that respect, it's certainly up there for me. I do think they complement each other well. I would maybe, if we're having them as complementary course, I would maybe like to see a little bit more woods on Milo. Just because I think for when we pair courses together, it's nice when they're pretty different. And I feel like there's some, obviously, golf course versus more of like park golf, they're a little closer together than park or golf course versus like a little bit more wooded. And we know the woods are at Milo, so I might like to see a little bit more incorporation of some of those holes. But in general, I think the courses are fantastic.
Yeah, you think we're in for a good Worlds in 2027 on these courses?
Yeah, I think so. Especially, they're doing 2 trial runs at it, and how often do they get 2 trial runs, at a venue before Worlds?
It's true. I feel like they're doing that more often these days, but usually not 2 cycles in advance. I'm really curious, like when you look at the kind of the shape of the season so far, you, Kristen, and Missy have really separated as really the 3 players have won almost everything combined, besides Ella's win back at the beginning of the year. And it's kind of interesting right now because the Europeans are over in Europe and you're here with the American group. And then mostly people are going to come back together for the major in a couple weeks here in Wisconsin for U.S. Women's. Does it change anything about playing against kind of like a not full field as you look ahead to an important major coming up? And I don't know exactly the right question to ask, but like in terms of preparation or how you think about an event like this.
It doesn't change very much in terms of preparation. I mean, Missy's the second highest rated person here. She's an incredibly talented player. So obviously she's going to be pushing me. And then Paige has also been playing really well. And, Paige at Glendevere, a few strokes off the lead is certainly not comfortable. I do think like when this bit is separated out, like there's a little bit of added pressure for me to perform well because I'm the highest rated when Kristen's not around. And then I also know that she's probably not finishing off the podium while she's in Europe. So in terms of the overall point standings, she's going to be getting some, I don't want to say easy points, but she's getting easier points and so am I. So, there's a little bit of pressure there to try and finish really strong. But honestly, there's always pressure to try to finish really strong. So there's a little bit, but in terms of what I actually do during the week, it doesn't really change anything.
Speaking of preparation, your season has been a phenomenal one. You have yet to miss the top 5. You've got a handful of wins to go with it, including at a DGPT plus. I mean, I don't know if you can imagine a better start to the season than what you've had so far. And so what changed in this off season that lets you find this additional gear?
Yeah, I mean, my last off season, it's like a iteration on how all my off seasons go. I try to look at what I kind of parse it into some sections. So I'll try to look at, are there any like technique or mechanic related things I want to change? And so I'll have that going alongside, working out, lifting weights and all of that stuff so that, I'm as strong and as physically capable as possible. And then I'll kind of transition into more working on just shots that I want to get better at. And then towards the last month or so of the off season, I'll start getting into more game-like scenarios. So playing, I'll play 6 holes and try to treat it like it's a tournament. And then I'll take a little break and I'll go out and I'll play another 6 holes, try to treat it like have little mini tournament rounds for myself. And then continuing to work on, the shots that I need. And then of course, lifting weights and working on mobility and just I'll look for like those little things, like what's something that's worth spending time on that could get me maybe some strokes down the line. And then I think, last year I was very close to having a really good season. There were a lot of times where I got second or third place and was right in the mix. And then it kind of came down to the final day. So a lot of this year has just been trying to figure out how to manage that final day a little bit better. And that's come down to just a little bit more experience. So experiencing those emotions and kind of thinking through like, okay, how should I try to deal with them this next time when it happens, and starting to figure that out. Better course management. So looking at my game, like what are my strengths and weaknesses, and trying to stick to strengths and avoid those weaknesses, especially in scenarios where I know I'm going to feel more nervous, and kind of anticipating that a little bit. And really it's just been kind of a steady improvement. It's just, I've been able to like if it's a cup you're filling with water, we've like been able to spill over a little bit and have been able to like actually break through this year.
Charlie, if I can jump in with one more follow-up real quick. You talk about managing emotions on final day, and that has been something that you feel like you've improved on and continue to focus on. I remember an interview last year, and I remember because it stuck out to me so much. When you won Beaver State Fling, you had described your final day kind of emotion management less about you versus the course and more about you versus own. And that stood out to me because it's unique among disc golfers, right? And typically once people get wins, it's, oh, I just locked in and, I played my game. And that's the standard answer that we get. And you had described it as this competitive, I just put myself up and wanted to like match my shots, outperform on certain holes. I was thinking about the holes that Owen would succeed on, and I was planning my game and deciding my shots around that. You've got 3 wins this season. Have you been doing more of that, or are you trying to move away from that to the more traditional me versus the course mentality?
So I would describe my strategy as kind of piecing things apart so that I can lock in. Because I think if I'm just like, okay, lock in, my brain wants to think about a million things. I'm a very analytical person, which is great for like practicing and stuff, but actually terrible in tournaments. And so I find that kind of breaking the course into pieces, or, in that case at Beaver State Fling, I had been playing really poorly up until through 14 holes. I had been just pretty flat, like I really hadn't been scoring, and I was still way back. And so thinking of the last 4 holes of the tournament and being like, okay, I'm really good at these holes relative to the people on my card. So if I lock in here and can birdie 4, I have a chance, and so kind of like recognizing that's like kind of a smaller scenario that I can really focus and lock in on kind of helps me actually get the bigger picture result. And so something I started doing at Beglow last year was like even before the round starts, like breaking the course into sections and being like, okay, through 4 holes, what's like a reasonable good score for me? And then I'm trying to hit that. And then in the next stretch, okay, what's a good score for this stretch? What's a good score for this stretch? And that like helps me have something reasonable to go for rather than worrying about like every individual hole. And that was something that helped me in that final round because, Missy was starting to creep up on holes 8 and 9. And after hole 9, I was telling myself like, hey, we kind of expected that 8 and 9 were going to be holes that were hard to birdie, but we know that this next stretch is one where I can score. So let's try to get, and I think I told myself, let's try to get 3 out of the next 5. And I ended up getting all 5, and pulling away. So I think that it's kind of both. Like, yes, I'm breaking the course down, but that's letting me lock in and get focused.
I want to go back in time to when you started playing disc golf because it's kind of crazy looking back. And we've had you on the show many times over the last 5 years. But you didn't play any tour events until 2021. And now you're at the precipice of potentially winning a Player of the Year award. Obviously, there's a lot of season left to decide that, but it's been a very strong start. Could you like just take us back in time to your mentality when you first started playing around 2020? I don't know when you define your first playing experience. Maybe you can tell us. And just, did you ever have it in your mind that you could get to this point where you were winning on the professional level and perhaps becoming the number 1 player?
Yeah. So to answer your question, I started in October of 2019. So I still have video from that day, and it was a pretty wild form, we'll say. Yeah, but I mean, when I first started, I didn't have any aspirations to play professionally. Like I got obsessed with watching, Jomez and post-produced coverage, and I just wanted to get better because I wanted to get better.
Was Jomez first, or did you play first?
I think actually we found it because Tyler watched a Jomez video, I think, and then we started playing, and then probably 1 or 2 months into playing, we were watching everything. So it was quick. But yeah, like at the beginning, like I didn't have any aspirations to be on tour. I had a good job, and I was pretty happy there. And the idea of like quitting my steady job to go live in an RV full time was kind of ridiculous. But I just like got obsessed with wanting to throw the disc better and like wanting to figure out like, okay, how can I fit practicing into my week and how can I just make steady gains? And I don't really care like how long it takes me to get better. I just want to get better at throwing. And then I kind of stumbled into like even early on, I said I didn't even want to play tournaments when Tyler told me there were tournaments. I was like, oh, I'll caddy for you, and he likes to give me he likes to tease me about that one a little bit still. But yeah, I just kind of stumbled into it and ended up getting better and better. And then I had, that one breakout B tier where I beat Katrina and Jennifer, and that got me like sponsored. But even then I was like, well, I'm not going to tour. This will only ever just be like a local level sponsorship. Like I didn't have any like thoughts about touring or where I wanted a professional career to go until like weeks before I actually announced that I was going to go on tour. Because it was more like I just wanted to get better, and I kind of accidentally got good enough to go on tour, and it kind of lined up with an opportunity to go on tour. And then I've really just continued doing that. Like, once I was going on tour, the goal became more of like, okay, let's see how good we can get. I think I could be number 1 in the world someday if I work hard enough. But like the base layer of that is just a general obsession with getting better, kind of regardless of what the results are. I think if I, even now being close to number 1 in the world, like I still want to get better the same way I did, back when I first started.
Would you say that's what defines you from your competitors? The drive to get better regardless of results and your work ethic?
I think so. And I think just kind of the way my brain works, I work in like processes and systems. And so I like to systematize everything. And I think that makes it easy to stay consistent. Um, but yeah, it's like I don't like win or lose, I'm still going to want to find the next thing that's going to up my level. And so I think that's why I'm able to continue getting better and I don't really get burnt out because like I have a love for improvement more than I have a love for winning.
Where do you think you still need to improve now that you are the second highest rated player in the world?
Yeah, I mean, skill wise, there's still several angles that I'm not as consistent at, especially like we're talking Anheuser release angles, like they're just not nearly as dialed as my flat and my hyzers. My forehand will still be inconsistent at times. We saw like it kind of cost me the Supreme Flight Open that final day, just like every now and again, I'll just shank a forehand. So there's that. The down tempoed shots, the putter shots, the touch shots, like that's kind of been my big project right now is learning how to down tempo my run up and, take some power off while keeping the same timing. Putting's another one that kind of comes and goes. I think that's true for everybody, but I would like to see that percentage get higher. And then still like with the mental game, like that's still getting better all the time. When I like starting the tournament in a good spot that lets me perform. And then when I start to get out of that good spot, getting back there as quickly as possible. That's something that I'll, continue to improve as well.
While you don't have the credit that you deserve of winning Throw Pink because it's not technically a major, we have 4 majors coming up here, and I want to know which of these majors, lots of, especially
Josh,
the European majors.
Throw Pink is a major.
Throw Pink, oh, I know.
Sure that's clear.
I know, but it's not in the books, man. You're coming up on major season, right? You've got 3 majors in the next month and a half, 2 months. Which of those majors do you think gives you the best opportunity to win?
Probably either the European Disc Golf Festival or Worlds. I think those courses are a little bit more towards my strength. The U.S. women's courses are great, and I think I absolutely could win there. I've never played Roland Ridge, so I don't know that much about it, but I know Silver Creek. It's a little shorter. It's a mix of technical and open. So I think, if my shots are dialed and I'm able to put together a good game plan, I'll be competitive. But I think I think my biggest advantages won't be as big an advantage on that course. So probably one of the European ones.
So just a quick stat. Since the beginning of 2024, when you've really started winning a lot, when you and Kristen have been in the tournament together, she has finished ahead of you 14 out of 16 times. The 2 times that you finished ahead of her were wins, when you've both been together in the field, to be clear. What is it going to take to start to change that story and for you to be able to outcompete Kristen head to head on a more regular basis? Obviously it has happened, but she still holds the edge and it has been the number 1 player in the world for 2 years plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to be like all the things that, I said in terms of areas I can improve is just continuing to find a little bit here and there. I think the biggest and most immediate areas to improve would be on the course management and the like emotional management side of things. Because I think that's where Kristen's biggest strengths are, is she breaks every course down into a few shots that she's excellent at. So it just never really looks like she's having to try very hard. And then, she's very good at regulating her emotions for the most part. So I think those are kind of the 2 areas where I try to learn the most from her.
When the Europeans are present, and especially Kristen, like, does it feel different? Does the pressure feel different? Do you have a different pressure on yourself? Do you feel external pressure? Do the crowds feel different? How does it change compared, to Portland or Preserve? I don't know if they're going to be the Preserve, but Portland or maybe, Cascade Challenge, as opposed to, once they return back on tour.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the pressure is almost higher when they're not there, because it's kind of like, all right, Kristen's not here. There's no excuse for you to not win or get second. But I mean, there might be like, during the round, if I'm having kind of a slow stretch, there is a little bit of that in the back of your head of like, okay, well, Kristen's probably shooting hot, so you probably need to, get moving. So there's a little bit of that. And then when they're not there, usually if Kristen's at the tournament, whatever she's doing, whether she's playing well or not, she is a big story and there's going to be cameras on her constantly. And then I've noticed I've started getting that treatment when she's not around. So there's a little bit of that, but yeah, that's really all it is.
You have not been to Europe before. How are you going to prep for the majors over there? Are you going to try to get yourself some extra days to get reps?
Yeah, so we did play. So we played in New Zealand in the off season, and I kind of treated that as like a trial run for the travel side of things. So I think we've got a good plan for traveling. The plan is to get to Norway. I think we're going to get there the Thursday before the week of the event. So we'll have a lot of days to get over the jet lag, do some sightseeing and some fun stuff. And then we will get to Krokol like on Sunday, I think. So I'll have lots of time to prepare. And then, yeah, after that, like really just going to treat it exactly how I would treat it at home. It's just, it'll be a rental car instead of the truck and RV, and I'll be staying at Airbnbs. But yeah, I try to give myself as much time to get over the jet lag as possible.
But in terms of like,
go ahead,
sorry,
Charlie.
quickly, Josh, in terms of course prep, you're not going to do anything more for like Worlds than you would do for a standard event in the US that maybe you hadn't played before?
I mean, typically for any event, if there's coverage of it, I'll watch it. I mean, I watched the Portland Open and Beaver State Fling from last year, just to get an idea of like, what are the lines and how are the people who manage the course really well are obviously the people at lead cards. So kind of seeing, what are the ideas and the shots that they took? Is there anything I can take from that? And then obviously studying the caddy book before I get there. So yeah, there'll be some, the probably normal level of prep before getting there. And then I'll have at minimum 2 days per course that we're playing to practice. Plus I usually like a bonus day where I'll go and play a few holes here and there that I need a little extra help on.
For courses that you've never played before, but have the opportunity for ample prep, how big of a disadvantage do you feel that it is to be playing it first, like for a first tournament time, as opposed to somebody who has played it in multiple events? If you have adequate, like you described it, not talking rolling up Wednesday, tournament starts Friday morning, but in this case where you have 2 days per course, plenty of prep time, it's been on coverage, but you know that your competitors, almost the vast majority of them, have played both of these courses at least last year and have played the beast for years and years. Like, how big of a disadvantage do you feel that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does depend on the style of course. Like, if it's a style of course that already suits my game pretty well, I don't feel like it's that big of a disadvantage. And I feel like, course like Cascade, where they had some really like long, tight wooded courses or wooded holes, it would have been nice to maybe have played another practice round or had a little bit more time on some of those. So a little bit depends on the courses. And I mean, yeah, obviously it is an advantage to have years and years on a course. Like I find myself when I'm coming back to courses in the US that I've played for 3 years, like the amount of prep necessary to get ready is just so much less, because especially if I've played it well before, I can generally recycle a lot of the same shots I played the year before. So yeah, it is more work. It does take a lot more thought and attention when you haven't played the course before. But I generally find like 2 rounds on most courses is enough to get about 90% of the way there. And then having that last day to kind of, hop around and play maybe 5 or 6 more holes that I need a little bit more reps on. That usually gets me good enough to be in the mix. And then at that point, it just comes down to execution.
You have an interesting spot this year because, for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I want to win a tournament or I want to win a major. You have a lot of different potential like number one goals right now. It could be to finish number one in the Pro Tour standings. It could be to win the Pro Tour Championship. It could be to win Worlds. It could be to win your first major. It could be to finish number one player of the year in the PDGA rankings. So what is the number one thing that you would love to accomplish in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, at least day to day, I don't really think in terms of those big goals, because I find when I do, it gets my, it's a distraction from the like little things I need to do every day. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be Worlds.
Well, I'm going to push you on another big one that maybe you don't think about day to day. Giving you an opportunity to call your shot. When are you breaking 1,000 rated?
Oh my gosh. I have no idea. I feel like it's probably going to actually go down a point because I didn't play very well at Champions Cup or Cascade Challenge. So I wouldn't be shocked if I was out of the 990 club after this next ratings update. I don't know. Like, I think the next stretch of courses I play very well on, so like that will help. But then we've got like Ledgestone and Idlewild, and that's in the woods, and who knows. But maybe like end of next year.
End of next
conservatively.
Year. Okay.
Write it down, Josh.
I'm writing it down. It's going in the notes.
Yeah, write it down.
How do you feel like the level of FPO play has grown since you've been on tour? Do you notice it?
Oh, it's definitely grown. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can kind of every level of the field, like the top of the field. I think, we're seeing better putting, we're seeing better course management, we're seeing more consistent, like shot shaping and less of like, crazy egregious like overturns and shanks. We're seeing less of those. And then, even at the midfield, like there's a lot of players where you didn't really see them in the top 10 a couple years ago, but they're starting to pop off a lot more. And then like even the cash line has moved when we have the full field. Because I remember when I was looking at coming on tour, when the full field was together, the cash line was like in that 920 to 930 rated range. And now when the only time it's 930 rated is if like the Europeans aren't here and it's a small field and we have a lot of local players. But when we have everybody here, it's like 950 some weekends. And then, even stats wise, like, if you look 5 years ago, it's like a couple players were able to have like averaging C1X like over 75%. And now it's like 20 people, so I think, yeah, the field's absolutely gotten better.
I know that there are structural reasons for this disparity. So I recognize that. But on the MPO side, the sport is currently dominated by young players. Gannon Burr, for example, is only 20 years old. And his competitors are mid-20s at the oldest right now. I don't think we've had a win from a player over 30 on tour this year on MPO side. On FPO, I don't know how old Ella is. I didn't look, but outside of Ella, you and Missy and Kristen are all over 30. And so there are two different sides, right? You have veterans on the one side, and I'm recognizing you haven't been in the sport as long, but you have these veterans on the one side, and paired with like the young up and comers on the other side. What do you see? Like, I guess, where do you see the FPO young talent coming from? Do you expect that transition where it kind of mirrors it? Do you think that those kind of systemic issues are going to prevent that, where young girls aren't as engaged in competitive play as often right now? Like, do we need to make more of those changes? Where do you see kind of the development and shift in FPO? Do you see it lining up with MPO? I don't know the best way to ask that question. I guess it's kind of a big one.
Yeah, I think I get what you're getting at. I think, maybe the reason, I think it's probably a few reasons. Looking at course design, like the guys have to be able to throw so much further to be competitive. And I think on the women's side, like, yeah, distance is an advantage, but if you can throw about 350 pretty consistently, which a lot of people can, and that's just not a very physically taxing thing to do. So I think, we're probably able to play and stay competitive physically, getting into like the mid and upper 30s and even 40s. I mean, we're seeing Owen and Jen, Jen just had a 4th place finish and she's 43, I want to say. Yeah. So yeah, I think our current courses are less physically demanding on one end, and then I think for us, at least for the women, like it's only in maybe the last 5 years or so it's really been financially viable for a significant number of us to make this our full-time job. And so the players who are able to do that first are going to be obviously the little bit older players. So I think, as time goes on and like more spots are available on tour for women to be here full time, you'll probably see that age start to be a little bit younger, because we're starting to see some younger players go on tour. You're seeing like Ellie Ezra is going to she's been on tour full time. Cadence is another one, like I think she's still finishing up high school, if I'm not mistaken. So we're starting to see younger players like coming on full time. And I think that trend will continue. It's just our field is a lot smaller, so it might take a little while before we start to see that shift. Hopefully it's after, I'm retired. So, but yeah, I think I would attribute it maybe mostly to those two. I'm sure there's other reasons I'm missing.
It's way premature to talk about like retirement for you, but have you considered wanting to get into commentary as like a, glide path out of the sport in however many years you think it's going to be, 10 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love talking, so but yeah, I've done commentary a couple times, post-produced. So yeah, that would definitely be something that I would enjoy doing. And maybe by the time I am retiring, hopefully the sport's to a place where that's a really good, viable option.
Yeah, I think you would be very good at it. Maybe that's embedded in my question, but the mind for the game is matched by, it's rare that you have somebody who's both playing at a super, super high level and can talk about the game in a super analytical way. Like a lot of times it feels like some of the great players just sort of instinctively understand how to play. So anyway, I hope that you decide to do that when the time comes.
Yeah, absolutely open to that.
You mentioned, and I find this fascinating. You mentioned that the FPO courses are shorter and less physically taxing. And it's so interesting to me because we, for years, have just blasted courses that have not made adaptations to FPO level. And so you see, just scores that are over par sometimes, where MPO are shooting 30 down and FPO are over par. And we have Portland, or Northwest Disc Golf Championship. Gosh, Northwest Disc Golf Championship, where you finish with the same number under par as Gannon does. So, like, in terms of the scoring, we've got that great parity there. But again, it goes back to your point. You said that you feel that the distance requirements relative to the FPO field are not as high as they are for the MPO field. Do you think that we have swung too far the wrong direction? And do FPO courses need to get a little bit longer?
Ooh, yeah, I don't think they need to get longer. Like distance is a skill, and but I don't think it should necessarily be the primary skill on average. I think that is, when we talk about making a hole harder, a lot of the first things that we go to is like, oh, just make it longer, right? And that's not necessarily a good thing. I think FPO course design is better than it's ever been, because it demands a very wide variety of challenges, right? You have to be able to shape shots, you have to be able to hit gaps and mandos and manage OB and throw decently far. And I think distance wise, like on average, we're at a pretty appropriate spot. Because we don't want golf courses to just feel like distance competitions. That's not very exciting to watch. I think it's okay to have one, maybe two holes per course where distance is a huge advantage. But no, I generally I like Glendevere because if you can manage your angles really well, you don't need to have a 65 plus mile an hour arm speed. So I think it's great with where it's at. And then also, when we're not having to throw as hard as we can every single shot, it means we can play more, we can play longer. So no, I think it's actually in a great spot right now.
I know we haven't talked a whole lot about the actual tournament this weekend. I mean, in part, that's because you won by a lot of strokes. But I kind of want to get your perspective just on how you feel like you played. I think it's your second highest rated event in a win ever, behind Kansas City earlier this year. Do you feel that you played at an exceptionally high level? And like, were you happy overall with the way that you went out and won this tournament ultimately very convincingly?
In general, yeah, I'm very happy with how I played. I think a few course management errors, maybe especially in round one, a couple of times where I was out of position and I tried a little too much to get, to still get a birdie and ended up getting a bogey. So I think there were a couple of those mishaps, but for the most part, I think this is one of the best, like the best game plans and execution of a game plan that I've had. I think it's also one of the better ones where I've, managed emotions and nerves and some frustrations throughout the tournament. Like pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with all of that. Like I can definitely always, I can always find, ways I could have done better. I still would have liked to see like the C1X putting be a little bit better, but it ended up being a pretty average putting week for me. In general, yeah, very happy and, hoping to just continue building off of it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for stopping by and giving us so much of your time. Good luck with the upcoming events. And I mean, you said you want to win Worlds if you had to pick one thing to do this year. Is that the event that you're most looking forward to in the next couple of months, or does something else come to mind?
I mean, I'm looking forward to all kinds of stuff in the next few months. Like right now, I'm looking forward to being back at the Preserve because that's another course where I play really well and it's a lot of fun. So that's definitely, forefront of my mind. I'm looking forward to going to Europe in general. That's a part of the world I've wanted to visit for a very long time, even before playing disc golf. So, I mean, I got all kinds of stuff I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. Well, good luck with the rest of your season, and we'll be watching.
All righty. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Holyn Handley with us on the Upshot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Upshot. Thanks again to Holyn for stopping by. I feel like normally I'm like, oh yeah, it'll be like 15, 20 minutes. That's what I tell the players. And then we just did like 40 minutes with Holyn. But such an interesting story when you really zoom out and think about her trajectory as a player. This is not some prodigy who started playing when she was 14 and has just like slowly paid the dues and come to the top like we see so often. She started playing in her late 20s. And has catapulted to basically the top of the sport. It's wild.
It's a reminder. She did what? She played D1 volleyball.
I always forget the like origin story now, but yes, was clearly like a top athlete.
So top athlete. And here's what's fascinating about Holyn. And honestly, it's not just Holyn. You look at the two. I guess you take Holyn and you take. There's two types of people we see at the top of the sport. You have the Paul Macbeth, Kristen Lett. I see them as very similar. They are incredibly mentally strong. They have a view of the game that in terms of like the overall emotional management, they see it as a job, right? The way they approach it is just methodical. It's killer. They also are at like the peak of professional. Like they are amazing ambassadors to the sport. They understand the business side of it. They are like they embody what professional disc golf, like the peak of professional disc golf. That's type 1 that I see. Type 2 are the Holyns and the Gannons, who have an obsession and a nerdiness about the mechanical side of the sport, about the actual technical process of throwing a disc, about the angles that they put their discs on, an obsessiveness about being better in every facet of their game, and a drive to just absolutely improve their game, even in, as Holyn puts it, when they aren't winning. And it's so fascinating because they feel like very different people to me, but they both types seem to find just like amazing success in the sport. But I really think that those are the types of people, the Holyns and the Gannons, who have a level, an intimate level of like disc golf and mechanics and swings and flight that are going to, like, they are going to run this sport in the next 5 years. As tech catches up with the sport, tech disc, an opportunity to measure throw speed and angles and launch, and as they continue to do studies about form, like Gannon's and Holyns, when paired with that nerdiness, with the drive to, just be the best that they can, they like Holyn in the next 5 years is going to run this sport.
Yeah. Some background on Holyn, because I was Googling about her volleyball career.
Let's hear it.
She went to UT Dallas.
Okay.
In high school, 3-time honorable mention all district, academic all district, all 4 years, led her team to 4 district titles and 3 by-district championships, got the team to the regional finals as a senior, also threw discus. How about that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Didn't know that. Honorable mention all ASC. I don't know what is ASC. I'm not up on my mid majors. Let me Google it real quick. It's whatever conference, American Southwest Conference. That's what UT Dallas plays in. 3rd team all ASC as a sophomore. All ASC, 1st team all ASC East as a junior. 2nd team all ASC East as a senior. Academic all ASC basically every year, was, got an engineering degree. And so you see all of the pieces, right?
Right.
It's like the engineering mindset, the like competitive drive, the physical skill and talent, and, size to play elite volleyball and now disc golf. I mean, it all makes sense. It adds up. And when Holyn first came on the scene, it was clear right away that the talent potential was through the ceiling.
Yep.
But how many players have we said that about?
Sure.
That haven't realized the same level that Holyn has? We've said it about Haley King.
Yep.
We've said it about Ellie Midling. Obviously, Ellie's still super young, so like jury's out.
Give her some time.
I mean, in a way, Haley King's still really young, but she's been on tour for so long, and obviously she's had success. She's won many big tournaments, including majors. Holyn still doesn't have a major.
Right.
But, she has not played with the kind of consistency that Holyn has discovered. So it's just very fascinating to see. And to me, it speaks to the eventual renaissance that we will have when serious athletes of, D1 college caliber start deciding they're going to compete in disc golf.
And treat it like they treated D1.
It's going to change. It's going to change everything. Yeah.
And treating it the same way that they treated their collegiate or professional athletic careers.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep.
The sky is the limit. I mean, we have not seen the best disc golf that will be played. Not even close.
Not even close. Yeah. You think about the advances in our analytics for the actual mechanics.
Yeah.
And pair that with the capacity for some of these people who are just genetic and athletic freaks who are just peak athletes. Oh yeah. We're just scratching the surface.
Anyway, great stuff from Holyn. Let us know your thoughts. Upshot at ultiworld.com. We always love hearing from you. Josh, I got a mailbag question for you.
Okay.
This one popped up in the Discord, and I didn't want to wait. I wanted to get right to it.
I have no idea what this mailbag is going to be about, to be honest.
Here we go.
You talked about it. I was like, okay, mailbag. I did not see this. So, all right, here we go. Let's hear it.
This one comes from Doug.
Okay.
I'm calling a time violation on Jomez.
Sorry, we don't do that. We don't call time violations.
What is that? 6 years ago, 2019 Portland final round was 1 hour and 5 minutes long. Jomez's 2025. Yes.
Okay.
Jomez's 2025 final round for MPO was 2 hours and 5 minutes long. The average round at the tournament was over an hour and 40 minutes long. This is destroying Jomez's audience. Post-production used to attract fans as a quicker alternative to live. Fans could catch a round they missed, check in on FPO, or introduce friends to professional disc golf, and it would only take an hour. No wonder fans get worn out on disc golf when there's a tournament every weekend, and the quickest way to watch is a full-length feature film for every round. Josh, I was initially a little bit skeptical of this take.
Sure.
But then somebody did the math in the Discord, and they posted the overall average time per YouTube video. So for the nines, right?
Okay.
For the front nine, for the back nine.
Yeah.
And here's the chart. We'll put it up on YouTube, and I'll read it for those listening. In 2017, and I'll just round because it's easier. 31 minutes for a round for a front nine, or for a video. So front nine, back nine. 2018, 31 minutes still. A little bit longer, 31 and a half. 2019, 34. 2020, 40. 2021, 40. 2022, 39. 2023, 40. 2024, 46. 2025, 47. The pre-COVID average was 32 minutes. The post-COVID average is 42 minutes. And the post-Jomez moving to DGN average is 44 minutes. This is a significant jump, Josh.
Massive.
We're talking about like well over 30%, coming up on 40% increase. And this is per nine. So, this really does change how long it is to watch these rounds. Now, of course, just to give some context here, part of that is that they're doing way more to integrate chase card and other play into the main show of the lead card.
Yep.
Which, there are pros and cons to that, but I think I understand why they do that, because sometimes the lead card isn't the story. So what do you make of this? And do you think it's fair to say that it's gotten too bloated?
Oh, man, that's such an interesting. I'm going to have to go back and watch with this in mind now, because Jomez should be prioritizing efficiency, right? Prioritizing those because especially now that it's owned by the same company who gives you the full product, like this should be the shortened version of it. But if the sole reason is because they have to show chase card, well, this is going to continue to develop as a consequence of the depth of the field that did not exist to the same extent 8 years ago, right? The fields are deeper than ever before. You have to involve chase card. It would be ludicrous. I mean, how many times? Do you remember what year was it that we were like, oh, this is the death of Jomez, when like 4 chase card winners in a row won?
Yes.
Right? Like, now I don't think that's happened this year though. And so the Jomez needs to do one of two things. They either need to commit to being lead card and lead card only. And if that's their gig, then that's their gig. Or they need to commit to covering the storylines, and they need to be willing to cut lead card shots. If you have Paul Macbeth, who's shooting 3 over on a lead card, he's no longer on coverage.
Treat it more like the live does.
Yes. It needs to be a condensed version of the live, no longer
in 1080p, full everything.
Correct. And it's got, it keeps up with the storylines. You watch the relevant bits, but I'm sorry, when Paul Macbeth shot 3 over 990 rated round, he was not relevant. So if Jomez wants to commit to showing the relevant storylines, you need to be prepared on hole 6 to say, like, a quick blurb about Paul's scores and keeping his scores up, but not showing Paul's scores anymore. And you can even say it explicitly, right? Like, at this point, Paul is falling off the pace. We're shifting to coverage of Calvin or whoever it was, right? AB, we're shifting our coverage to this player because this player is the one who is matching and is competing and is now competing for the lead. And but you can't do both. You can't be I'm going to cover all of lead card and cover all the relevant storylines and be the condensed version of the story. You need to pick one or the other.
What I don't know what to make of is that Jomez views are down. They're down pretty significantly from, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Part of that is COVID effect, of course.
It is.
But just in general, like, it's not doing as well. Now, is that what do you attribute that to? Is it because of the live?
Well, even
is it the vagaries of the algorithm?
Sure.
I will say this as a not an often, I don't often consume Jomez rounds. And I would go so far as to say that nowadays, if I miss a round live, God forbid, all I do is watch disc golf all day, every day. Sometimes it feels like that. I am much more likely to watch the DGPT highlight cut that is 10 minutes than I am to watch the Jomez, which is in many cases well over 90 minutes to watch a round. Even at 2x speed, it's glacial.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I think they could do. I will say, I think the editing has gotten worse in that they are not cutting time from between shots as much, perhaps because it's easier. And I completely get that, right? When you have to do these turnarounds same day or overnight, I mean, it's brutal. Like, you got to get these edits done. You don't have time to sit there and feather everything. But like, you're watching somebody do a putting routine for 15, 20 seconds. We don't need to see that. We really don't.
They don't cut the Gannon.
Yeah, you got to cut that stuff. Yeah. Like, I think if they were more hardcore with the editing, like, decisions, they could definitely get these round times down. Yeah. There's too much bloat at the beginning of the rounds for me too.
Agreed.
On and on and on and on. I'm like skipping. I
go to the timestamp and look for hole one.
If they're fans, if their audience that truly watches these rounds week in, week out, prefer it that way, then I don't blame them at all. Like, you know your audience, you know what performs well, you know what doesn't. But it's not like they're having like ongoing growth and huge success. Like, things have come down off the highs. And so maybe it's getting too much. And I'm starting to see more people who do like to watch Jomez be like, it's too much. And for me, it's one thing if you want to let the final round of the back nine video be an hour and 10 minutes, which is what it is.
Especially
because
in a
you
close
want to
tournament.
show all of that slow drama on 18, and you want to show the time between the shots, and you want to show AB, sad, crouch, all of that. I completely get that, right? You still need to cover the story.
Yep.
But round one, round two, cut it down. Like, I don't even need to see chase card shots in round one. Like, just not. And again, I am not the primary consumer of this content. So if you want to ignore me and people email in and say you're wrong, I love it this way, it's only gotten better over time, we'll read those messages on the air. Email us, upshot@ultiworld.com. But I think it's gotten to be too much. And it's making it where I used to go watch these rounds for insight, for being able to really follow like how a card played or how a particular player played. It's so slow to do that now that I'm way more likely to look at stats and watch the highlights.
Well, and two, right? Like, so that final round, 2 hours and however many minutes, right? How long's a live round?
Right.
Like,
I mean, 3.5, especially if you start watching when the lead card tees. Maybe less.
Yeah, if you start once lead card tees.
Probably 3-ish. Depends on the course.
Sure.
3 to 4 hours.
Like, the value calculus is just not there anymore, right? When Jomez was a third of a live round, I could hear you being like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to catch a Jomez on this one, right?
Yep.
But at this point, it's like, well, Jomez is going to take me just as long, or almost as long. So why wouldn't I just watch live? It's better.
Right.
I also think it's a testament to how good live's gotten. Like, the quality of the live product. Because it used to be, like, I felt like I was sacrificing quality for, like, speed and instantaneousness of the live product. I don't feel that anymore. I used to watch Jomez early rounds because I was like, I love the quality production. Live is so good now that I don't. I'm not
gonna lie. When they have high quality internet,
yes, yeah, right,
crystal clear.
It looks so good, and
that's not all the time. Sometimes it sucks.
That is true. But when they do have good internet, like, the live product is amazing now. Yep. It's so enjoyable to watch.
Agreed.
I just have no reason to watch Jomez anymore.
I'm with you 100%. All right, let us know your thoughts. Upshot@ultiworld.com. Let's get to the Åland Open.
Yeah.
Coming up this weekend. It's the next stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour over in Europe. We got a few American pros headed that way. So some names to keep an eye on this weekend. Certainly Ricky Wysocki, who is going over and then coming back to play Preserve. He's there. Nicholas Antila is there. Ezra Aderhold is there. Kevin Jones, Matt Bell, Eric Oakley, James Conrad, a couple of other American names, along with all of the sort of complement of Europeans, including Mauri Vilman, who just won 2 weeks ago and looked great doing it. So maybe he can go back to back. Åland Open, this Åland course has been ranked number 1 in the world at times. Right now, it's ranked number 2 behind Krokol. It looks. I was watching a little bit of like practice round coverage. It looks magnificent, Josh. This is going to be so much fun.
It's a great course. It's just another one of those European, just top of the top of courses in the world. And always love when we get to watch those on coverage. They're just, oh man, they're so good looking.
It's so nice. Over on the FPO side, I believe there are 0 Americans. But Kristen, Silva are your big 2, and then Anniken Sten, Katie Tate, Katie Alsalu, Rachel Turton. And a name that somebody pointed out in the YouTube comments we should have talked about on Tuesday, and I don't think it's fair. Julia Fors. This is the 13-year-old, Josh. We mentioned her 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just won the DGPT Q Series event at the Eastern Meadows Open. Won it by 3 strokes over a number of higher rated players in the field. I mean, we're talking about a name that we are going to have to be locked into for the next decade.
You know, I was just talking about young players with Holyn. Here we go. 13
Crazy.
Years old.
Out of Sweden. Already 2 A-tier wins this season. A 9th at Konopiste. I think she's on the feature card for the first round. So
that's so cool.
Maybe a great reason to get up in the middle of the night and watch this tournament if you live in the US. Or hey, catch the highlights. I think obviously Kristen and Silva will be the big favorites here. Silva won this tournament last year without Kristen in the field. This is kind of like the start of Silva's big European summer. So should be a really interesting one.
Yeah, it should be. It's gonna be good.
Should we get to our picks?
Yeah, this one is a little bit of a shorter track. It is sub 10,000 feet, sub 9,000 feet for FPO. So the technicality is supposed to be like, that's kind of like the highlight of this course.
It's just beautiful, like carved through the forest. There's big wooded shots. There's open shots. It's like a little bit of a mixed bag. And elite course.
Yes.
Absolutely elite course.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're ready for picks now.
All right, Josh. Let's start where we really disagree. And that's an FPO. I'll let you go first. Who you taking?
All right. Give me Kristen. Give me Silva. My last pick, I want. Gosh, we gotta stick, Charlie. We need to stick to Finland and Estonia because I've been working so hard on getting my pronunciation of those names right, and then now we're somewhere else, and I just know I'm gonna screw
Swedish.
Sophie, Bjorlik.
I think it's probably Bjorlicki.
Bjorlicki. Okay.
I'm not totally sure. I have not heard this name said.
I'm going with, you know what? Sophie's good enough that she deserves first name status like Kristen and Silva.
We will respect.
That's why, Charlie. It's totally so. Anyway, Sophie Bjorlicki is a Swedish player who has only been playing in regional kind of like Swedish tour events. Won all of them. Now, not the stiffest competition in the world, but last year DGPT Silver, Norway Open 5th. Last year Åland Open 3rd. DGPT full event, Swedish Open, 10th. Järva, 1. Swedish Championships, 1. Right? This
best
is like
best
player in Sweden. It's the horses for courses pick, except it's the country woman for courses pick now. I think she's the best player in Sweden, and the familiarity with the course, I think, is going to elevate her to a top 10 finish and 5 points for me.
Listen. What's your hope here with Kristen and Silva?
I'll tell you right now. I don't care about your 5. I'll tell you.
They go 1-2.
Tell me they're not going
1-2.
They're going to go 1-2.
Still not enough points.
There are more points. That is more points than top 10 finishes by the random names that you're going to pick.
Untrue, and I'm not picking random names. I'm picking players who could finish on the podium, or maybe they'll even beat your Kristen and your Silva. I'm taking Rachel Turton, Anneli Togyas Maniste, and Katie Tate. Everyone on this pod has heard of those people.
Yep.
They were all top
You're
10
right.
finishers 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
I think they're very likely to be top 10 finishers again this weekend. They're all 5Xers. And if I get even one of them on the podium, even if they only finish top 10, even if only 2 of them finishes in the top 10, I might outscore you.
No way.
If
Not
all
if
3 of them
Kristen
finish in
Silva.
the top 10, I'm going to get 15 points. And if I get a
Yep.
podium, I crush you.
The
So-
problem for you is there's only one podium spot available.
Okay. All right. There it is. There it is.
Right? So
The overconfidence.
Kristen Silva, and remember, this is what I did last week, and I beat you on the FPO side.
Did you beat me on the FPO
Yes,
side?
I did. Yes, I did, because this is the right FPO strategy.
I foolishly took Silva last week. I should have tripled down like I am this week.
If you pick all 3 and they all go top 10s, and Sophie doesn't, then you will beat me. But if Kristen wins, Silva wins, and the other takes a podium spot, and Sophie hits top 10, I've got it.
All right. You know what? We'll come back to this conversation.
We will.
I like my odds of getting one of my 3 players on the podium. That's what I will say.
All
And
right.
that's all it takes.
Okay.
MPO side, I'm going back to the well with Mauri Vilman, who came through huge for me and has been shooting me back up the board in the leaderboard. I've got Daniel Davidson in my picks as well. He played awesome here last year. And I have, for my final spot, Ezra Aderhold. Now, I know you tried picking Ezra 2 weeks ago. You were early.
No.
He's gonna top 10 this time around, and he is a 5Xer. So I'm going triple 5Xer
Yes.
on the MPO side as well.
That is the right strategy, Charlie. That is the right strategy for MPO, because I don't think it's as obvious of a winner, right? Like, yes, I know Rick is the highest rated player. I don't think it's obvious that he wins. I don't even think it's obvious that he podiums, right? And so, given that's the case, I think 5X is the right strategy on the MPO side. That I will agree with you on. The guy who's flying back and forth across the pond every week, I just don't know if I'm picking him again. Sorry, Ezra. My picks, Una Heinonen is my first. I am not letting you get 25 points off Mauri Vilman without me this time. So I also have Mauri Vilman. And then I want the top Swedish player on the MPO side as well. Give me Linus Karlsson.
Great choice.
He's played well. I mean, it's not like, I think he's gotten like a 12th place. He got 12th place at Supreme Flight this year, and then he had another like top 15 finish this year. And so, with the smaller field and in his home country, I just think top 10 is like, I'm very confident about my top 10 there with Linus.
Great. Did you get your last pick in yet?
Yeah, Una. I said I started with him. I went.
Oh, okay.
I went top, bottom to top. I went Una Heinonen first.
Got it.
Yeah.
My bad. I zoned
You're
out
good.
for a second. All right. So our picks are in, and you can make your picks at discgolf.ultiworld.com/upshot-picks. Just get yourself a subscription, join the picks contest, and join the Discord. Get the subscriber bonus segments. We'll be doing a rapid reacts after this event. Probably Sunday, possibly Monday. Sometimes we wait a day on the European events. Just depends on how things are going timing wise. And it is my wife's birthday on Sunday, Josh. So that's
sure. Happy birthday.
we'll see where we're at with
Yeah.
things in the evening after the
Are you
baby
telling me
goes to
she's
bed.
not watching Åland for her birthday?
I don't think so, but I'm gonna surprise her with the Åland Open all day live stream. I'm gonna wake her up in the middle of the night.
Wake her up at 3 a.m.
Liz.
She's like,
Happy birthday! FPO is on.
you walk in, you're like, hey, happy birthday, I've got a surprise. And she comes out and there's like a bowl of popcorn sitting on the couch with Åland Open on.
Oh my god. World's worst. If someone did that to me, I would be pissed.
Right.
And I do this every day for my job. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of The Upshot. Thank you so much for tuning in. Josh Mansfield, Charlie Eisenhood signing off. We will talk to you next Tuesday. But join us for the Rapid Reacts. As a subscriber, just go to discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe and jump into the chat. We'll see you there.